Hello, welcome to Keep Your Thrive Alive. I'm Mark Mulligan, and this is the space where I share inspiration, ideas, and tips to boost your mood, your energy, and your well-being. Today I'm in London. It's the middle of winter, it's dark, it's damp, and it's cold. And it's especially at times like this that I miss living in India. And it's not just the weather that I miss, it's the way of life and all the things I learned when I was there. So in this video today, my intention is to share with you some of the wisdom from India, and specifically about how it is that you can eat in a way that lightens things up for you. How is it that you can be healthy? How is it that you can feel light and energetic? How is it that you can eat in a way that is sustainable for you in the long term, and in a way that you can share with the loved ones in your life? So why don't we hop on over to India now? Today I'm delighted to be in India and exploring eating well with a distinctly Indian flavour. For most of us, knowing something is bad for us, as in how we eat, this is not enough to motivate us to change our behaviour, because knowing and doing are very different things. So my intention in this video is to find a way of eating which is sustainable for you, gives you pleasure, makes you feel light and energetic in a way that you can share with the loved ones in your life. So, what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to take some time to reflect on how well Western food culture serves us. Not very well, I'd say. And how it is that we can tap into the wisdom of our ancestors to be healthier. Then we're going to get practical about what to eat with some specific examples. As well as looking at what to eat, we'll be exploring how to eat and the impact that this can have on us. The idea is that you come away with some new ideas about how it is that you can make small changes to what you eat, which help you and those around you to thrive more of the time. Okay, let's get started. Let's spend some time thinking about the philosophy of eating. In Western culture, there's an overemphasis on eating to lose weight. If you go into any bookstore or newsagents in London where I live, the shelves are overflowing with diet books, the latest fads on how to lose weight fast. There's an obsession with counting, measuring, restricting what we eat. We've turned the natural process of eating into a neurotic activity of thinking, calculating, and overanalyzing. This would be fine if it resulted in us being happy and healthy, but this is not the case. In the UK, 3 out of 4 people are overweight, with 1 in 4 being obese. And the statistics in urban India are even worse. How has this happened to the human race? When we look to nature and animals in the wild, they're very rarely fat. Animals know what and how to eat. This epidemic of obesity is a relatively recent phenomenon, and it's related to how we live our lives today. If we look back in time, what could we learn from our ancestors? I'm a big fan of Rajita Devekar, an Indian dietitian who takes a very holistic approach to eating and believes we can learn a lot from the traditions that have been handed down from generation to generation. She also believes that we have an inner wisdom when it comes to eating that we've somehow lost a connection with. So let me share with you some of the main principles because it's very simple. We need to move from overthinking to feeling good about food and eating. Our bodies, and more specifically how we feel, is a deep source of wisdom for us. Today, we often value what we think over what we feel, or even worse, in some cases, we value what somebody or something else says over what we feel ourselves. I hear so often from clients who use Fitbits to track their sleep. One guy said to me, I wake up feeling rested, that I had a good night's sleep, and then I look at my Fitbit and it says, I've only slept 5 hours, and then I feel terrible. Why is it that we trust the latest gadget more than we trust ourselves? So I'd like to invite you to tune in to your feeling body to help inform your decisions around food, rather than overcomplicating and overanalyzing it. The body has 2 powerful built-in mechanisms to help us eat the right amount. The first is our sense of taste. When you have that first chocolate, it tastes great. But when you eat the whole box, how good does the last one taste? Take time to notice how your food tastes and show the wisdom to stop when it ceases to taste so good. The second is to notice how you feel after you've eaten. say 30 minutes to an hour later? Do you feel bloated and lethargic, or do you feel light and energized? This is particularly important because there's a time lag of up to 20 minutes between eating our fill and actually feeling full. Zane Andrews, an associate professor of physiology and neuroscience at Monash University, Australia, describes how the process works. When we eat and put food in our mouths, we have receptors for things like taste and texture, and our brain registers that it feels good, and that it's really tasty, that it's sweet, and I like that. But it's not until the food gets into our stomachs and into our gut that it starts to release satiety hormones, which feed back to the brain and tell us that we're full. And that takes between 5 and 20 minutes for the average person. So, by focusing on how the food tastes while we eat and noticing how we feel after we eat, we begin to learn how to eat the right amount. In Western culture, there's an obsession with calories and counting them. Calories are an overly simplistic measure to help us decide what to eat. For example, 10 grams of French fries have the same calories as 100 grams of small peppers, but have vastly different effects on our hunger, our hormones, our energy expenditure, and the regions of our brain that control food intake. Ayurveda takes a much more holistic approach, and I believe a healthier approach. It talks about the pranic or energetic value of the food we eat and what it is that we get from eating it. You cannot measure prana in a laboratory, you can just feel it, and it will be different for everybody. In Ayurveda, it says there are many factors that affect the pranic value of a food. I'd like to share 3 with you. The first is, where did the food come from? Is it seasonal and local, or was it shipped halfway across the world? Rajuta has a lovely catchphrase: think global, eat local. As in, think about the impact of the environment of transporting food huge distances and eat what is grown locally and in season. Second is, how is it prepared? Was it mass-produced in a factory somewhere, or was it home-cooked? When I lived in Goa, I contracted hepatitis E. There was a wonderful woman, Janet, who fed me through to wellness, and I swear it was the love in her cooking that accelerated my recovery. The third is your body and your state of mind. The benefit you get from food is also related to your mind and your body when you're eating it. Take a car as an analogy. Its performance will not be just based on the fuel that's put in, but on the model, the state of repair of the car, and of course, the mood of the driver. So this is not a quick fix. It's not a fad diet. What it is that we're talking about here is a different way of eating that you can sustain for the rest of your life, honouring the traditions that you're brought up with, eating what's local to you, and noticing more how you feel physically as a result. It's not about restricting what you eat. You can eat what you want, but tune into your body's wisdom of when to stop. It's sustainable because it feels pleasurable and it feels good. So, how might you eat to get more pleasure, energy, and better health? Here are some simple suggestions you might find useful for before, whilst, and after you eat. Before you eat, take a few moments to pause before each meal. Almost every religion in the world has a prayer before meals. So whether you're Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian, or even if you don't have a strong religious faith, perhaps take a few moments before you eat to give thanks for the food you are about to eat. It'll help you switch off from that last email, appreciate the taste more, and get more benefit from it. Whilst you're eating your food, slow down. I'm absolutely terrible at this. I'm not sure if it's because I'm the youngest of 6, but my natural tendency is to shovel food into me like I'm being chased. But when I chew my food properly, it makes a huge difference to how I enjoy it. I savour the taste and the pleasure lasts longer. Also, chewing properly means that you absorb more nutrients. A key part of the digestive process happens in the mouth through physically breaking down the food, but also chewing produces more saliva, which contains digestive enzymes, including lipase, which help break down fats. One strategy that works for me is to pause between mouthfuls. So rather than loading up my hand or my fork or my spoon with the next serving, waiting till I've swallowed the previous one and then preparing the next mouthful. The other advantages of eating slowly is that it reduces the risk of overeating, and you'll eat less in the time lag between being full and your brain registering it. After you finish eating, get into the habit of noticing how you feel 30 minutes to an hour later. Teach yourself to eat to the point where you feel light and energetic, not dull and stuffed. The idea of this video was to help you find a way of eating that you enjoy and makes you feel light and energetic. When you enjoy the experience, it'll be so much easier to do. You won't have to use your willpower and work against your chimp brain, so it becomes effortless. You'll be happier and nicer to people when you eat well because you're not starving yourself and making everyone around you miserable. It'll help you manage your weight and be healthier, happier, and more energized more of the time. To recap, the 6 takeaways from this video are: 1. Stop overanalyzing food and restricting what you eat. 2. Start noticing how food makes you feel, both when you're eating, as in the taste and how it changes the more you eat, and afterwards. Eat so you feel light and energized. 3. Eat local, think global. Eat foods which are in season and are produced locally. 4. Enjoy the food traditions of your family and your culture. There's nothing wrong with eating one gulab jamun. 5. Reduce processed food and eat more natural or home-cooked foods. And finally, 6. Slow down when you're eating and give it your full attention. I'm really curious about what you found most useful about this video. I'd love to hear what you think. Please leave your comments in the discussion forum and check out what others are saying. I look forward to seeing you soon, and in the meantime, be well and thrive.